My name's Anthony Avillo. I'm a Deputy Chief with North Hudson Regional Fire and Rescue. We are in New Jersey, just across the river from Manhattan. Lincoln Tunnel is in our jurisdiction. We have about 80,000 people a square mile. So we kind of never have a fire without an exposure problem. I've been on the job 28 years. I started in the Weehawken Fire Department. And when we regionalized, we now run and cover the cities of North Bergen, Weehawken, Union City, West New York, and Gothenburg. What does that mean to you? Probably nothing. But like I said, we are extremely populated area. I'm a regional tour commander, as it says there, and I wrote the Fireground Strategies book. I teach at 2 different fire academies, and I also write for fire engineering articles in the magazine. So I'm also working on a new book that hopefully will be published next year. Today what we're going to talk about is organizational safety. And what I normally do is I sort of gauge this along the lines of the officers, you know, because what we want to talk about is a safety culture. We want to talk about an organizational feel for safety. And it's funny because you kind of know it when you see it. It's kind of hard to define a little bit, and you also know it when you don't see it. So these are some of the things we're going to be talking about today. Talk a little bit about the causes of LODD. We're going to talk about, we do a thing in North Hudson called the LODD Roundtable, and we do it on a bi-monthly basis. What the companies do is they review an LODD and they bring the lessons learned back to the battalion. And we'll talk about this a little more in the next couple of slides. But one of the things we found there, and it's created some changes on our department for the good, is exactly what Science Daily found when they did research like this. They looked at 4 different reasons that firefighters get killed, right? Now, the first one, understaffing, under-resourcing, we generally can't do anything about, right? What do you guys ride on your rigs? 3, that includes the officer? All right, you ride just like we do. You know, and we have 80,000 people a square mile, and those are only the ones we know about. There's lots of people out there in Hudson County that we don't know about. You always got to be thinking about unintended consequences because the results are random, and it all has to do with how the fire guards feel about you today. That's all it has to do with. You know, and we're talking about everything from wearing gear to following policy and that sort of thing, right? Let's talk about policy a little bit, all right? PPE policy. And what I tell my officers, if you're not doing this right, what else are you doing wrong? We have a PPE policy. Everybody, including chief officers on the fire ground, are in full PPE. You know why? Who says you should be doing that? The NFPA. All personnel on fire ground. And not only in full PPE, they got their chin straps on, they got their waist straps on, they got their hoods on. Right? If that's not occurring, discipline, and we'll talk about discipline. We like positive discipline much better than negative discipline, but that is something that has to occur because people have gotten injured, all right? Waist straps. A friend of mine was on a RIC team in a New Jersey department. They went after a guy that was lost. They found him. Heavy smoke condition. Couldn't get him out. Couldn't figure out why they couldn't get him out. He died. Waist straps hung up on a radiator. Or would you say a radiator? All right. Everybody stops me with that one. Okay. Waist straps hung up on a radiator, all right? And they couldn't figure it out in the smoke. They're trying to pull him, thinking dead weight. They had to cut it loose. By the time they got him out, the guy was in cardiac arrest. He died because he didn't put his waist straps on. So here's the way I look at the additional alarms. If my incident's still escalating and I don't have at least 3 companies in reserve standing behind me with nothing to do, I strike another alarm. Why? Because I need relief and reinforcement. You ever have unplanned for problems on your fire ground? Right? Hydraulic reserve. 2, 3, 4 water supplies maybe, coming from wherever, who knows. Reflex time, ripple effect, and all incidents require a tactical reserve. So what happens is, you know, I got exposures all over the place, right? First alarm company is being eaten by the fire building and maybe one of the exposures. So who I got behind me? Nobody. Second alarm. As soon as they get there, and do they ever get there fast enough, Chief? No, because you're standing there, right? Second alarm, I got to send them into your exposure. Who's standing behind me? Nobody. Third alarm, I got another exposure. Boom, they're going in there. Who's behind me? Nobody. Fourth alarm, what I'm looking for is for people behind me with nothing to do. Then I know I'm starting to stabilize my incident, right? And listen, I'll call 4, 5, 6 alarms. I don't care. Who doesn't want to go to a fire? Everybody likes to go to a fire, right? However, you have to manage them. And when you're striking all these multiple alarms, you guys get mutual aid in from outside? Or not much of it?
Kind of depends on where.
Depends where?
Yeah.
Okay. When we, do that mutual aid, people coming in from the outside, we always want chief officers. We need chief officers as well as firefighters. If I have 60, 70 firefighters and 3 chiefs, my span of control is shot. I got big problems now. So chief officers is really important. But that's a rule of thumb that I like to work with. I got nobody behind me, I'm calling another alarm because I know I'm going to need them. You guys got shafts here? Any of your buildings? We had a couple of guys fall in shafts at times. People have been killed in shafts. You got to be very careful. Cornices, though, personally, I almost fell off one, so I always talk about these things. It's an unsupported extended roof edge. Not only a lateral fire spread danger, but you got to take a look at, if you don't see it from the ground, up on the roof, you got to look at the possible indicators that you see up there, such as offset chimney or some sort of change in the slope of the roof.